My entitled sister intentionally gets pregnant just so she can get back on the family will, as well as get back in my life and my parents' life. Here's what happened. So this story is an update to a previous story we had on the channel, where the original poster's sister got convicted of a crime and was nearly forced by their mother to try and fall on this crime. But thankfully, they didn't give in to the weird demands of the sister and the mom, and as a result, the sister got in trouble and the original poster got off scot-free, as they should. Here's an update to what happened next. My sister sank to a new low of manipulation with this one. A couple of months ago, she suddenly showed up at our parents' house with a boyfriend in tow and a positive pregnancy test, and saying that she was 2 months along. She claimed that she wanted to make amends so her child would be able to know their grandparents. Now, I saw this for what it was from the start. My sister went out of her way to get pregnant, so dad would put her back in the will, and mom would have to make her the golden child again. Yeah, I know, crazy stuff all around to catch up on, but things didn't go down that way in the slightest. It was February when my sister showed up all of a sudden. She had taken a leave from work to come see us. She even tried to act all smiles around me, but I could still see the hate in her eyes. We were definitely not on good terms. She still blamed me, and she never stopped blaming me for her problems, but she pretended that she'd seen the error of her ways. My mom seemed to buy her act, but my dad didn't at all. Though my parents having a grandchild is something that they've been longing for, so they begrudgingly accepted my sister back for this moment, but not without making sure whether or not this was some kind of con. And spoiler alert, it definitely was. My dad suggested that my sister should take another pregnancy test just to confirm, and he requested that simply because this is how my sister is. She really is that weird. We expected her to protest, but she took the one my dad got and willingly used it, and it was positive. So she was indeed very pregnant. My parents asked for some time alone with my sister, so I went home and I didn't see them again until the next day's evening, and it was then that I got the details from my parents. The evening before, they'd had a long talk with my sister about all the things that she's done, and told her that they will help support their grandchild and set up a college fund for them. But if my sister wanted a place back in the family, then she's going to have to work hard for it and prove that she's changed. Because it was obvious with the timing of the pregnancy that she only got pregnant to try and get back in the family's good graces. She denied this, of course, but her past actions spoke for themselves. Our parents wanted her to seek therapy, both individual and group with them over video calls. And they also wanted her to apologize to me for what she did years ago, since she always refused to do it. And that's when she finally broke and said that I don't deserve an apology, because I'm the reason she got her life ruined to begin with. Well, when my dad heard that, he didn't let that slide in the slightest, and practically started shouting at her. And then he told her that she was never grateful for anything they did for her, and that she was only blaming me so she wouldn't have to take fault for her own actions. My mom chimed in and said that she had to realize her own past actions were wrong, like when she tried to force me to take the blame for my sister back then so her baby wouldn't get in trouble, and how she'd said those horrible things to me when I refused. And if she could genuinely admit her wrongs, my sister could too. Well, my sister flipped out and left with her boyfriend. The few times I met the guy, I could tell he was only with my sister for the money, because she treated him like absolute garbage. She even elbowed him in the stomach once right in front of me. Anyway, my sister came back the next day with a long rehearsed apology for them, with crocodile tears included. And again, the only reason our parents let her back in was because of her pregnancy. She was set up back in her old room and spent the next few days trying to act all smiles. But her act was pretty bad. She was still expected to give me that long overdue apology, and I even met up with her and her boyfriend at a local restaurant our parents picked out. We figured if she was going to give me anything even remotely genuine as an apology, it couldn't be around our parents. She started off the apology by basically murmuring, and when my boyfriend wanted her to speak up, that's when she elbowed him in the stomach, and she did it really hard too. He asked to be excused and left us one-on-one. As soon as he was gone, my sister started what's more of a non-apology, basically saying that she was sorry for what happened with trying to frame me, but also said that it still would have never happened if I had just gone with it that day and gotten the alcohol for the party, and then we could have both had a great time. I countered that she still didn't get it. She straight up framed me, and when the cops were called on her, it had nothing to do with me. So if I had helped out that day, then I would have been arrested and charged too. I got up and said she still hasn't changed. She only lives in her little self-important world, and then I just walked out. When our parents learned of this, my sister tried to deny the word that she'd spoken to me, but my dad knows the owner of that restaurant. We were seated away from the other noisy guests, and we were put right below a CCTV camera with audio, and it caught everything. And my parents had the video within hours from the restaurant owner. They played it in front of my sister and told her this is exactly why she's not getting much in her will. Her child might be, but not her. That's when she threw a tantrum and walked out screaming at them. And this time she did not come back. She got in her car and drove all the way back to LA without another word to any of us. She later called to say her boyfriend had left her and she didn't know where he was. As I thought, he was clearly in it for the money. And when their con failed, he cut her loose. So now my sister is around 4 months pregnant with her baby daddy pulling a runner. She is still sending our parents updates on the pregnancy, and my parents are having a very hard time dealing with the fact that their future grandchild is basically being used as an attempted bargaining chip for my sister to worm her way back in. So it really is sad that she left my mother heartbroken all over again, our father beyond disappointed, as well as tried to make me the mental scapegoat simply because she can't admit her own faults. She hasn't changed a bit, and I really don't think she ever will. What a crazy update to this story. For context, the sister in this story that was kind of estranged and came back as pregnant and trying to get back in the will of the family is someone who tried to blame their other sister, who is the original poster, of a crime that they did not commit. Like, it really is crazy, and it's something we covered previously on the channel. So the fact that she would come back into everybody's life and basically be like, hey, I'm pregnant. Can I please be back in the family? I'll be the favorite again. Like, that is honestly insane to me. So good for the family as well as the original poster for all basically coming together and saying, no, you are full of it and we see through all of your lies. And I honestly don't blame the dad for being like, oh, okay, you're pregnant? Yeah, do another pregnancy test. Based on the way this person is described, it kind of adds up that they would have to do this. This really is a messed up situation, and hopefully for the sake of everybody in that family, it all works out in the end. Because otherwise, there's just going to be more drama and more problems. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My partner has been spending a little bit too much time with someone from her work and has recently gone over to his house without telling me in the first place. And this is all so very confusing, and I seriously don't know what to do. So first, for a bit of context, I will try and keep this as concise as possible. Years ago, my partner cheated on me. I felt like something was going on in my gut with her roommate, and after weeks, she said nothing. I finally confronted her, and she admitted that they had been together once. But after asking her to show me her phone, it was pretty apparent that it was happening several times over a period of time. They were practically dating, and that turned into a whole situation where I left the relationship. During this period, they sought mental help and got diagnosed with a mental health condition. They started to go to therapy and take medication, and generally got a little bit healthier. After a year, we ended up getting back in touch, and she had really matured. All of the steps that she had taken seemed to have really been huge for her. She is my best friend, I love her, and I decided that I would be willing to start seeing her again under the condition that she never lied to me again. And also, she needs to continue therapy and continue taking her medication. Fast forward 4 years, and things have been great. I've been working out issues that I have with betrayal as well as trust issues, and of course, it's been very difficult, but she has been generally very understanding and at least willing to work at it. Over this time period though, she started feeling that her medication was dulling her, so she decided she would stop taking her meds. She told me that she talked to her doctor about this, and this is what they decided on together, and she stopped going to therapy. Right at this time, we had made the decision to find a place and move in together. Fast forward to this year, and generally speaking, things have been completely up and down on a roughly 3-month cycle with our relationship. I've only just now started to recognize the patterns, but how we are doing seems to go from either the best it's ever been to completely disconnected. So with that bit of context in mind, this is my conundrum, and I'm honestly really trying hard to keep my hands on the keyboard as I type this, so maybe this part won't be so long. Now, there's also someone else in the picture that my partner works with, who we will call John. That's not their real name. Over the past year, my partner and John have gotten close. It went from John being someone that they thought was cool and they liked joking around with at work, to someone that they said they mutually told each other that they could see themselves being very close and spending time with each other outside of work. work. Once it got to that point, my partner totally stopped communicating to me about John. This was about 6 months ago as well. It's as if John no longer existed. But when my partner would invite me to work social events, her and John would be very close. John used to say hello to me and we would talk, but now John doesn't make eye contact with me anymore, let alone speak to me, even when I try to. At one of the recent events, there was a lot of drinking going on. My partner and John would be very close and touchy-feely with each other, and when I would come over, John would immediately leave. But I noticed that when I would leave my partner, all of a sudden John would come back. They have started saying I love you to each other, which I guess friends can say, but I usually reserve that for my relationships, my family, or really close friends. And the way they say I love you to one another has changed to this soft and subtle tone. One night, sitting on the couch, I saw a message notification from John. They were sharing pictures back and forth, and my partner replied with a message saying, "So you were even attractive with long hair too." Finally, after the most recent work social event, I asked my partner if anything was happening between her and John. Her response was no way. John has a long-term partner. Then, a few days later, my partner got upset at me for thinking that there could be anything going on between them. Now, my partner has been staying at work late or hanging out with friends after work almost every other day the past 2 weeks, which isn't a big deal. I totally get that. But after the third time, I felt like this behavior is odd for my partner because with their line of work, they typically want to get home and shower because they are exhausted after work. So she called me at lunch asking what I thought we should do for dinner, and I said I would go to the store and pick up something to cook, and she said that she'd see me after work. Well, after I got home, and about an hour before she gets off, she texted me saying she was going to hang out with some friends after work. I said, okay, I guess that sounds good, and I decided I would wait and run to the store a little bit later to avoid rush hour traffic. I headed to the grocery store at around 7:00 p.m., which is an hour after my partner usually gets off work. While I was out, I decided I would drive past John's house. Well, out in front of John's house was my partner's car. I went back home, made dinner, and did some work while I waited for my partner. 9:30 p.m. rolled around, and I was still waiting, and I was feeling a lot of anxiety. So I got in my car and I went for a drive, as it usually helps me calm down. When I came in, she asked how I was. I said I was fine and went out for a drive. I then asked her how her day was, and she said it was just all right. I asked her how the hangout was after work, and she said it was good, and that they went to a happy hour at some Mexican place near her job. I said, that's nice. And then I asked her if that was it, if that's all that she got into, or if she decided to go anywhere else. And she said yes, everyone just lost track of time. I then said that's really nice that it seemed they all had a good time, and I know that she had been hoping that the work crew would invite her out for a few months now, and that I'm glad it finally happened. She said, yep, she was glad it happened too. After that, I went to bed. I finally had something planned for us to go talk to someone, but obviously that has changed now, as I need to handle this first because I don't want her to feel ambushed in any type of session we may have. I don't know why she was at John's house, and I don't know what they could have been doing, but I do know that she lied to me, and I gave her a couple of outs to just say something about John's house, and now I'm confused, and I don't know why you would lie about that, especially with our history, and I just don't know how to have a calm conversation about it without her blowing up and getting angry and defensive, when like I just want to live my life, and I'm tired, and I just want to know the truth and communicate, and now I have to live with this implication that I've been feeling gaslit for the past 6 months, and my gut has been going crazy, and all of that might be valid. How should I handle this with my partner? How do I have a conversation about this? What should I do? This definitely is a sketchy situation. She's not being honest with you about John, most likely because she knows that you will get upset. There's a very high likelihood that something's going on between the two of them. They're saying that they love each other, and she lied about being at his house. That is a big red flag in my opinion. So this is definitely a conversation you need to have, because otherwise who knows what's going on? And I think you have every right to know exactly what's happening between the two of them, because based on what you've described, this does not sound like a normal relationship. And if anything, I think there might be something more going on. A woman I met long distance over a dating app turns out to be not my type physically, and now I don't know how to break the news to her that I am not actually interested in her and I don't want to continue dating. Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of context, I matched with this girl on a dating app 3 to 4 months back, and we immediately hit it off. We could talk about anything and everything under the sun. She She's insanely intelligent, she's really funny, mature, loving, and an all-around amazing person. We would text and talk every single day, and hours upon hours would go by, and we wouldn't notice at all. We became an inherent part of each other's lives, texting and calling at work, at home, while sleeping, morning calls, you name it. We are both looking for a serious relationship, which would lead to marriage, and after a long while, I found someone I connected with on every level. It felt so amazing that we even talked about getting engaged and talking to each other's parents in a few months' time. She would ask me to send my pictures on Snapchat, with and without filters, but she would send them very sparsely, and usually would send them with filters on or with a side face. We decided to meet in a city together and spend time with each other, and this is when the problem started. The woman I thought I was going to spend my life with, I am just not physically attracted to. She's everything a guy would want, but I just can't get past some of her looks. Now don't get me wrong, she is fit and she has an amazing body, but it's just not for me. I mean, I kept comparing her looks to other women on the street, and I know I'm a horrible person, but it's been giving me sleepless nights. She keeps saying I love you and spending our lives together. She even doubled her efforts because I think she's onto the fact that I'm not feeling it. I just can't bring myself to tell her that I love her when I can't feel it. I really just cannot fake it. I really do not want to hurt her, and telling her that I am not attracted to her after all we have done would be an absolute horrible move. She deserves way better than that. How am I supposed to deal with this situation? What should I do? I think you need to be honest with this lady. She deserves to know that, you know what, this is just not working out. For you to lead her on and be like, yeah, let's keep on going with this, that would be awful. She doesn't deserve that. You already met her in person and you know for a fact, sorry, I just don't like you like that. And sometimes looks do make a difference. What would be somebody's dream girl for you is clearly just not something you're interested in. And that is really unfortunate because it sounds like you two had a really good future ahead of you, but it's clearly not clicking. So honestly, I would break it off sooner than later. She deserves to know the truth, and I honestly don't think you should lead her on in the slightest. My girlfriend of 2 years wants to take a break with me, where she can do whatever she wants with other men while she's away on this break. But now she's telling me that we have a 50-50 chance of getting back together again, and I'm so confused and I feel so hurt over what she's saying that I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I have been dating for 2+ years and everything has been fine, but as of last night, we got into a small argument, and that led her to the conclusion that she wants space and wants to take a break for a month. I told her I understand and that I respect that, as maybe some space would be good for us, but then she mentions that during this break, it doesn't matter if she does any other scandalous stuff with other men, if you know what I mean, as it will all mean nothing and she still loves me. Now this just raised a bunch of flags in my brain, because why would you even mention that to me? And on top of that, why, if you love me, would you do that in the first place? I then told her that taking a break just feels like stepping stones that leads to the end of a relationship, but she says she still loves me and wants to be with me, but just needs a month break from me. So that means no texting or calling or seeing each other. It's just all so confusing to me because it feels like she just doesn't want to be with me in that way. She always keeps mentioning all the scandalous stuff and how it won't mean anything to her, especially if she does it with someone else during this month, claiming that because she still loves me, it's okay. But that seriously bothers me so much, I just don't know if I'm overreacting over this. It feels like she's dumping me with a string attached to yank me back in whenever she wants, and I honestly feel like it's not fair. I told her a month just feels too long for me, and I would want an answer sooner so I don't have to wait a month with a false sense of hope for it to all come crashing down and end up heartbroken all over again. What should I do? So basically, your girlfriend wants to be able to cheat on you with permission. Her saying, oh, let's take a month off so I can mess around with other guys, which by the way, I still love you, is literally just a hall pass for her to go mess around. Like she's literally saying, hey, I want to break up for a month so I can sleep around with other guys. Is that okay? And naturally, your response is to be like, wait a second, what is happening here? Like it really sounds like your girlfriend is not loyal. She clearly wants to break up to spend time with some guy you don't know about, and it's obviously going to be at your expense. Like seriously, this is unbelievably toxic. And I know if I was in your shoes and my girlfriend was saying this kind of stuff, I would start the process of grieving the loss of my relationship sooner than later. Like this is really bad. This is really like the end of your relationship potentially. Also, it's important to note that she is straight up playing games. She is literally stringing you along by saying, well, maybe we'll get back together. That is absolute nonsense. Do not fall for that. You shouldn't take that at face value because you know what? She's probably not going to get back with you. Fast forward a month and I guarantee you she's going to be like, oh, I found another guy, I'm going to go with him. Or some other garbage might come up. So hopefully you're able to make the right decision in this situation and maintain some kind of happiness in your life. Because based on what you're describing, your girlfriend is about to do something pretty stupid. And if you're not careful, you're going to be caught emotionally in the crossfire. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.